Hello, class, and welcome to Week 6 of English 101. We are coming so close to completing this course. I hope all of you are very excited and are proud of all that you have achieved. Right now, you are basically done with both of the essays that you have completed in this course. All you have left are the conclusions and revising and editing. Now, you do have 2 assignments due this week. Both of them deal with conclusions. One is that you'll be writing a conclusion to your discussion essay, and then you'll also be writing a conclusion to your assignment essay. Now, I want all of you to read this week's announcement. It is quite helpful. Basically, it's telling you how important the conclusion is. In the past, I've seen students just whip out a conclusion, quickly end it, and not really put a lot of thought into it. And I kind of compare that to the Titanic and how silly the ending of the Titanic is. I hope you've seen it. It's okay. I don't want to give away the ending, but she does something pretty stupid. And the announcement this week discusses that. But another thing I want you to remember is that when you write your conclusion, please do not write in conclusion. Why? Why would you not want to write in conclusion in your conclusion? Well, it's obvious that it's your conclusion. It's your final paragraph. We know it's your conclusion. You don't need to remind us of that. So this week, when you see students writing in conclusion with their conclusion, you and I both know that those students have not seen this video. Anyway, so let's move on. So that's one thing I wanted all of you to remember with this final assignment is number 1, put some effort into it, try to make it interesting, and number 2, don't write in conclusion because it drives me and all of your writing instructors crazy. All right, so let's move on to this week's lesson. And I'm not going to go through it very carefully, but there are a couple of things. Lucky you, there are no readings this week. Look at that. No readings. All right, so let's move on. All right, so here's something. There are 3 things that the lesson, actually 4 things that the lesson this week discusses. And I'm just going to briefly go through it. I do want you to actually read the lesson since you don't have any other assignments this week. But the lesson discusses creating flow, and it kind of gives you some reason why flow is so important. Basically, it's important because you want to make sure that your essay kind of reads smoothly. That is, it's not choppy like first point, second point, not connected to the first point, third point, not connected to anything else either. You want to make sure everything kind of works together. And earlier we were discussing transitions and how those could be used at the beginning of paragraphs, the body paragraphs in particular, and those topic sentences, using those transitions. Bring the reader back to your thesis statement, the last sentence of your opening paragraph, topic plus point. Well, you can use these transitions within the paragraphs themselves so that each sentence kind of builds upon the other one. So you're not just having topic plus next topic plus next topic. You want each of your paragraphs to kind of smoothly follow from one idea to the next. And that's kind of hard to pick up on, and really that's something that you'll learn through experience. But the lesson does discuss how important and how useful it is to read your essay out loud to yourself. So I highly encourage you, as you move forward, to read your essay out to yourself. This is the easiest way for you to pick up on this issue. When you read it, think about how things work together. If you see a point that does not follow the previous one, then you need to figure out a better way to follow that point. Also, I've noticed that students come from one point and then they jump ahead to another one, but they don't explain how they got to that point. I'm trying to think of an example. Let's say you're talking about global warming and you're saying all of these weather events that are occurring right now during the summer can be due to global warming issues. So let's say during the summer of 2021, there are several weather events, including hurricanes, which drives home the point that global warming is an issue. Carbon monoxide poisoning also occurs sometimes when we have global warming. You see how you kind of jumped from these weather events to carbon monoxide? And I'm just making this up. I don't know if carbon monoxide has anything to do with global warming. Those of you who are in environmental science are cringing right now, so I apologize. But let's kind of combine these two together. Global warming is causing many different issues throughout the world. For example, during 2021, there are several weather events that occurred due to global warming. For example, there were 2 hurricanes which caused different lands to have flooding issues. This also caused homes to be destroyed. Another issue due to global warming that can cause issues with homes throughout the country is carbon monoxide. I'm not sure if that's accurate. I highly doubt it is, but do you see how it's different where I didn't jump from one point to the next? Instead, I went smoothly from point to point to point. So that's something you need to work on too when you discuss flow. All right? So let's move on to the next point. All right. So when you write an essay, even like how we broke it down in this course, you started with pre-writing, then you came up with a topic, then you came up with a thesis statement, then you wrote your body paragraphs, then you went back to your introduction, and now you're writing your conclusion. So once you have the complete first draft written, it's important to revise. Now, revising is different than editing. Revising means that you're an editor, right? So even though you're an editor, you're not necessarily editing at this point. You're an editor, you have this draft, and you want to make sure it is readable and logical as possible. You also want to make sure that everything flows well, that the transitions are correct, and that every single component of your essay works to prove your thesis statement. Okay? So revising means that you're taking a critical eye to your essay and you're reading through it and you are deciding if the sentences and the words that you are writing directly help you prove that thesis statement. If it doesn't, you need to take that information out. And possibly, if you haven't done enough to prove your thesis statement, you will have to rewrite it. Okay? And one of the hardest components that students experience when writing is editing and not editing, but because editing comes later, like I said, but taking out writing that doesn't work. It's hard to throw away something that we have written. It's hard to throw away perfectly good sentences, something that's written well, something that's interesting, research that you found fascinating. However, if it doesn't work to prove your thesis statement, you've got to take it out. I have seen students put in quotations from great sources, but I have to mark off points because these great sources don't do anything to help you prove that thesis statement. So, and I know I'm talking a lot and not showing you any sort of visual effects or anything. So I'll tell you one thing. Read as a reader. All right. So pretend you're someone else when you're reading this. And when you're a reader, let's say, you take every single sentence. So you read your introduction, you've worked on that before. Is it interesting? Does it flow well? Then you read your thesis, make sure it isn't wordy, it's specific. But then when you get to your body paragraphs, not only do you want to check your topic, sentence, and your transitions, you want to check every single sentence that follows that topic, sentence, and transition, and go back to your thesis. Does that sentence help your thesis? Go to the next one. Does that sentence help your thesis? Each sentence in your body needs to help you prove that thesis statement, needs to have a reason, needs to have a point. Why is it there? Know why it's there. If there's no reason for it to be there, it's just flowery writing, then take it out. The biggest misconception, well, not the biggest, but a misconception that many students have is that they feel as though they got to fill in spaces, they got to write in a flowery manner because we like it. Guess what? We don't. We don't like it. We like clear, concise, specific writing. For you that are in the military, it's very similar. We like clear, concise, get to the point as quickly as possible writing. Just don't write in fragments or bullet points. Okay, so let's move on to the next point. And the next point is, hopefully there we go. Thank you. The next point is editing. Now, revising means that you are revising the points within your paper, the main discussion. Editing means that you're going into mechanics. So let's say you've already revised your essay. You've done as much as you feel comfortable with, because honestly, you're going to get to a point when you have revised too much and you need to stop, okay? You can constantly find something wrong with your essay over and over again. Just get to the point where you're sick of your essay, you've read it through it enough, you know it's acceptable, just stop, all right? And then move on to editing. And prior to that, I should make one more point. If you do want to use a proofreader after you fully revised your essay, feel free. Proofreading is acceptable cheating, right? Because someone is taking your writing and giving you suggestions. They aren't writing it for you. They're giving you suggestions on your essay, helping you improve. And that's perfectly acceptable. I have no problem with you using proofreaders. I have a problem with someone who's directly writing your essay for you, or writing sentences, or doing anything in terms of the writing process. But offering suggestions, that's not cheating, really. That's just helping you improve as a writer. All right, so after you revised, after you have found a proofreader possibly, then move on to the editing. The editing means that you read closely and you check for mechanics, okay? So basically go through here. It gives you some suggestions on what to look for when you're editing. I mean, you know what to look for, and sometimes reading your essay out loud again does help you pick up on some of those silly little errors. All right, so now I want to go through and want to help you with a sentence combining. And the lesson goes through some of the ways you can combine sentences and make things read a little easier, but I want to go through some of these with you. So there's a practice session in here, and the help that I'm going to give you may not be the answers that are on the next page. So, but let's go ahead, and I'm going to give you my opinion on how to combine sentences. So here we go. This reads a little choppy, right? They left for work too early. Their boss docked their page, which should actually be pay. So let's say it says pay. I think that's an error with the lesson. I did not write the lesson, but I do believe that's an error. So they left for work too early. Their boss docked their pay. So this is when I discussed earlier when you take in one topic and then you moved on to the other one, but it doesn't flow well. It kind of jumps from a topic. So let's say this one's an easy one. Because they left work too early, their boss docked their pay. Unfortunately, they decided to leave work too early, which caused their boss to dock their pay. They left work too early, so their boss docked their pay. This is easy to do. You just combine these little simple sentences. The bankers misplaced money. They had to find it. When the bankers misplaced money, they had to find it. Because the bankers misplaced money, they had to find it. When the bankers misplaced money and after they had to find it. I mean, there's so many different ways you can combine things. Let's say this one. They say life is too short. It is long enough to build strong relationships. So this is kind of like the negative, but this is the argument against the negative. So you want to put something like, although they say life is too short, it is long enough to build strong relationships. So keep in mind when you have these shorter sentences, try to be a little creative in terms of combining, but don't do the same kind of combinations every single time. Like I've seen students use semicolon, 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 or and. Try to be, vary your ideas. Put a subordinate conjunction here, comma here, maybe use a semicolon here, use a subordinate conjunction here, then a coordinate conjunction. You know how to do this. Just make your writing interesting for me. Please don't make me bored. Okay? All right. Now let's move on to your assignments. And these are pretty easy. You just have 2 of them this week and no quiz. Thank God for me and for you because you have to do the quiz and I have to grade the quiz. So I'm glad we don't have that this week. You have 2 conclusions to write. Last week's discussion discussed conclusion. Oh, and it also says here, don't write in conclusion. So that's doubly. If you see anyone writing in conclusion, you have an easy response to that student. Don't write in conclusion, please. Any case, so what I want you to do is focus on your chosen topic again, write a conclusion, make sure to offer a reworded thesis statements. And you don't have to go through all 3 points again, just kind of summarize your essay in 1 sentence with that thesis. So in this case, you don't need the essay map, in my opinion. Just write the topic and the point or the assertion with that final rewritten thesis statement. And you also have the same thing due for your assignments this week. All right, that's about it. I hope you have a great week. Again, check your grades. But remember, I do not have everything graded from last week yet. I'm going to try to get that done by Thursday, but for sure it will be done by Friday afternoon. So just wait till the weekend to remind me. But other than that, if you see anything else not graded or you see errors, please let me know. I'm still getting used to Brightspace, so I could obviously make some errors, and I'm not offended when you point them out to me. All right. Have a great week, everyone. I'll talk to you online. Bye.